all you can do is shake your head in disbelief. They did it again. And when I say they did it again, I'm not just talking about NVIDIA blowing numbers out of the water. I'm talking about the bears caught themselves into, once again, another epic bear trap for the 10 millionth time in this year in regards to NVIDIA, okay? We got a lot to get into in this video here today. We're going to speak about it happened again, okay? We're going to go through those NVIDIA numbers once again, just absolutely knocking out of the ballpark. I've been saying for a while NVIDIA's on its way to $1,000+, and it's on its way there. And we'll speak about why this stock's headed to $1,000 and $1,500 in the short term here. I'm not talking long term. I'm talking in the short term. We'll speak about that in this video, okay? Third thing we're going to get into is Palo Alto Networks. That stock crashed today. It was down 28%, a shocking move for a stock like that. That was over $100 billion market cap. So we'll talk about if there's an opportunity in Palo Alto Networks. We're going to talk about Palantir stock from here and what goes on there now that these NVIDIA numbers are out. We'll talk about that SoFi situation that got messy there and caused a lot of people to get very freaked out yesterday. We'll speak about that and kind of an update on that situation. And the last thing we'll get into is Tesla. I want to talk about Tesla stock because there was a very interesting thing that happened today in regards to that stock, and I want to kind of explain what's going on there. All I ask in return, smash a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, folks. It's been a long day for me. I, put out a reaction channel video today. I did that 3+ hour live stream on Twitch, and now I'm here for you at night putting this video together. So appreciate y'all. Thumbs up and subscriptions, they help, folks, okay? If you're looking to apply, join my private stock group. Get access to myself and the super investors. Check out pinned comment down there to go ahead and join us in there. Get access to all my course curriculums, plus a Discord and all that other good stuff, okay? So first off, I mean, imagine being short NVIDIA and you log on to CNBC and you see, like the right at the front of the page, NVIDIA post revenue up 265% on booming AI business. NVIDIA's data center business is booming, up more than 400% since last year. Oh my gosh. The great news for NVIDIA is, think about this for a moment, okay? Before we even get in depth in the numbers, how much is NVIDIA's stock up in the past year, okay? NVIDIA stock's up a couple 100% in the past year. But then go ahead, like look at where NVIDIA was at this time last year versus where the stock was going in these earnings, right? And then go ahead and look at how much revenue's up, then go look at the bottom line. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's actually up way more on a percent basis than actually the stock price is up, which is quite intriguing. That's always a pretty good sign, okay? Now, in terms of the numbers here, they destroyed EPS. They came in with 516 versus 464 was expected. They destroyed revenue estimates. They beat by $1.5 billion beat there on revenue, $22.1 billion versus 20.6 was expected. Also, in terms of next quarter, they said they're expecting to do about $24 billion in sales, which once again, they're going to come in and beat that. So the question is, are they doing $25 billion next quarter or $26 billion? I think that's the question. Like, are they doing $25 billion or $26 billion next quarter? They say they're going to do 24, but if there's something we know about NVIDIA, they're coming in and beating, right? Now, analysts were expecting just over $22 billion, so that's another massive beat in terms of the guide for what was expected there. Even on the buy side, they were at like $23 billion, so even the more bullish folks, they beat their expectations as well. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang on kind of his opinion here. Fundamentally, the conditions are excellent for continued growth in 2025 and beyond. That's very key because everybody's trying to call top in regards to NVIDIA's numbers, right? They've been trying to call top and they keep trying to do that. And guess what? They're going to do it again next quarter. They're going to try to top call again. Oh, this is the top and this is the top. And Jensen's out here saying, no, we've got excellent continued growth in 2025 and beyond. He says demand for the company's GPUs will remain high due to generative AI and an industry-wide shift from central processors to accelerators that NVIDIA makes, right? Which Jensen describes as accelerated computing, which he said on the conference call many times. NVIDIA reported $12.29 billion in net income during the quarter, or $4.93 a share. That is up 769% versus last year. Absolutely startling number there. In terms of their income statement overall, it gets no better than this. This is as good as it gets, okay? This is an A+, a perfect 100%, okay? Plus, they got the bonus question right as well. Revenue came in at over $22 billion versus $6 billion the same quarter last year. Cost of revenue went up, but not even remotely close to as much on a percent basis as the revenue was up. So that means their gross profit's going to explode higher. It was about $16.8 billion in gross profit versus $3.8 in the same quarter last year. Total operating expenses hardly went up for the company year over year from 2.5 billion to 3.1 billion. That's like nothing when your revenue is going up that high. Operating income, $13.6 billion versus $1.2 billion in the same quarter last year. It's just ridiculous. Interest income was obviously up substantially for them. Interest expense was actually down for the company. Other was up a little bit there. So that was another additional $491 million in the plus. So income before income tax is $14.1 billion. Net income, $12.2 billion. And diluted EPS, $4.93, right? So just amazing, amazing. That's the only way you can put it. Just phenomenal, as good as it gets numbers from NVIDIA there, right? In terms of the balance sheet, what's going on there? Well, check this out. Cash and cash equivalents in marketable securities is now up to nearly $26 billion. That's from $13.2 billion. Now, keep in mind, folks, this is a business that's going to generate, many tens of billions of dollars of cash flow this year, right? Which is going to mean that cash balance is going to balloon this year like you've never seen. It's a possibility that cash balance, they could exit this year with, let's call it $50 to $70 billion in cash and cash equivalents in marketable securities, right? Which then is going to increase their interest income massively if they want to take it that way, right? Now, they could also use that money to buy back a bunch of shares, which is a possibility, and take a bunch of shares off the market, which will just, once again, help increase their EPS. So I don't know where, Jensen's going to want to take this balance sheet, but all I know is this company is going to produce a sickening amount of cash over this next 12 to 18 months, and their cash balance is going to, depends on if they want to do buybacks or if they want to up that dividend, but if they just grow the cash balance, they're going to grow into one of the biggest cash positions of any public company in the world, literally within a matter of 12 to 18 months. Think about that for a moment. They could grow their cash balance, I don't want to say as big as Apple, but getting pretty dang close over the next 18 months if they want to take it there. But maybe they do massive buybacks, maybe they up the dividend huge, I don't know. We're going to see. But all I'm saying is they're going to throw off just sickening amounts of cash for this next 12 to 18 months. Now, in terms of valuation on the stock, it was supposedly at a 32 forward P going into today, but here's the deal. They're likely going to, in my opinion, they're going to do $25 plus of EPS this year, right? This fiscal year we're going into now at this point in time, which means the forward PE on NVIDIA stock as of right now is in the 20s. The 20s. For a company that just grew their net income 700+% year over year and is growing their revenue 200+%, right? Even if you say those rates are going to go down substantially, it's still ridiculous to be trading at a forward P in their 20s. You're way undervalued, right? Analysts are at about $94 billion for them to do revenue. I think analysts are going to bring up all their numbers. You're going to go through a massive up cycle. Analysts are going to have to bring up all their EPS projections, revenue projections now at this point in time. They're also going to have to bring up price targets. So there's going to be a whole analyst pile on here over this next several months that's going to play out here. But I believe NVIDIA is going to do $100+ billion of revenue this upcoming year, which means, the stock's very undervalued. When you look at the forward P and the type of revenue growth this company has, oh my gosh. Remember, H200 is going to start hitting big time in the back half of the year. Then you have China hitting in the back half of the year as well, right, which they're starting to sell back into China again in a substantial way. So that's going to add up to huge numbers for this company. And remember that valuation. We're talking about forward P that's likely in the high 20s right now, right? Well, Apple, guess what Apple trades at? A high 20s forward PE. But the difference between Apple and NVIDIA is NVIDIA is growing like insanity, and Apple is hardly growing at all, right? There's a massive difference here. And they have around the same forward P. So tell me who's undervalued and who's overvalued. Mr. Softy trades at about 34 times forward P on the stock. NVIDIA's lower than that. And you can't even compare NVIDIA's growth versus Microsoft's growth. It's like a night and day difference, right? And so when you look at it from that perspective, this stock is actually significantly undervalued right now. So when I talk about $1,000 to $1,500, that range, that's in the bag for this year, in my opinion. I remember talking about $1,000, and a lot of people are like, what, $1,000 for NVIDIA? That sounds crazy. Now people are starting to wake up one by one and be like, dang, I think he's right. I think it's going to 1,000 plus. And it's going to go there in the short term, like very short term, in my opinion. Outside of some sort of market crash where everything just tanks for whatever reason or some black swan event, 1,000 to 1,500, very short term here. And then even when it goes to 1,000 to 1,500, there's still going to be a debate on if the stock's actually significantly undervalued at that point in time, right? And the worst thing bears bring up is a price to sales ratio in regards to NVIDIA. Tell me you don't know anything without knowing anything. They bring up price to sales ratio is completely irrelevant. There's a 70% plus margin business. Price to sales ratio doesn't even matter. All that matters is the bottom line. Look at the forward P. That's what matters in regards to stock, and that's what they keep missing over and over again. And they're going to be trampling over themselves to buy the stock at $1,000 to $1,500 very, very quickly here. Gene Munster's talking about $180 billion of revenue for NVIDIA by 2028. Keep in mind, the company's going to do around $100 billion in 2024. So if you're going up to 180, that's almost a double up of your revenue from there just over the next few years after that, which means, very exciting growth ahead for this company. So I think we're going to get into a very interesting time period with the stock where I believe one by one these naysayers that have been negative on the stock are slowly going to go to the bearish side or the bullish side more and more and more because they're going to realize they've missed it, right? If I think about, my 4 biggest positions in the public count, right? 3 of those 4 positions, Meta, Tesla, and Amazon, are trying to get their hands on as many NVIDIA chips as they possibly can. And they're going to be doing that for a while. It's not like it's just 1 quarter and we're good. No. Meta needs to keep ordering as many NVIDIA chips as they can possibly get their hands on for a while. Tesla, what did Elon Musk say? I don't think it was his past conference call, the previous conference call. He said he's trying to get Jensen to send him as many flippin' flapjacking chips as he can possibly get his hands on, right? We know Amazon with AWS needs as many chips as they can possibly get their hands on. So 3 of my top 4 stocks in the public count all need NVIDIA in the worst way. In the worst way, okay? So that, that should give you a little comfort. When the biggest, strongest companies in the world all need a company like NVIDIA in an epic way, right? And here's the thing you got to understand about these chips, right? Because there's a false assumption out there that, there's a few false assumptions. One is they can just be copied and anybody can build them. No, it doesn't work like that. I can tell you that much. Believe me, every big tech company out there wishes they could build an H100 today or an H200, and they can't, right? But the beautiful thing with a business model like NVIDIA is you have these companies, these massive companies that add all these chips, right? So let's say you're adding all these H100s right now. Beautiful. And so you build out your AI. Jensen called it, what did he call it? He called it an AI factory. So you build out your AI factory full of these H100 chips that you're paying, ridiculous prices for. Okay, cool. Guess what? In a few years, you need to upgrade again. Guess what? Already companies are going to be getting H200s here in the next few months. H200's far more powerful than the H100. So you, as a big company, if you do not get the more powerful chip, you start to lose a competitive advantage in this market. So you're basically addicted to getting the most powerful next chip, or you will fall behind your competitors. So you're basically being forced to get the next one. Imagine when they're on the H300. If you still have the H100 at that time, you're like ancient technology. Now, if this was iPhones, we could say, okay, you just don't have as cool of an iPhone, so yours doesn't take as good of photos or whatever. That's fine for you as an individual. But when you're a company, this is life or death. This is your company thriving over the coming years or falling behind your competitors in these markets. And so you're forced to continue to play keep up with the Joneses in regards to these chips, right? Or you fall further and further behind because some other company has much more powerful chips and they're able to do a lot more than you can do, right? So it's not like these companies are all ordering these H100s and then they're good forever. Now we're good. We don't need to buy any more chips from NVIDIA for the next 5-10 years. It doesn't work like that. It never has. Anybody that works in tech, you know this, right? If you've ever worked for a company like Meta and you're watching this, or a company like Google, or Apple, or any of these companies, right? You know how this game goes. You have to build more and more and more, and then as these applications are used more and more, they take up more and more compute, which means more and more chips, okay? So, it's just, NVIDIA's in a really freaking good spot. I think they're in one of the best spots I've seen I think they're probably in the best spot of any public company in the world right now, at least, right? Hey, if AMD catches up to NVIDIA, then the game changes a little bit. But for right now, NVIDIA's out in front. And you look at AMD numbers, what they just reported, a few weeks ago, and look at NVIDIA's numbers. It's a 9-day difference. NVIDIA's running laps around AMD right now. That's just facts. And then don't even get me started on Intel or any of those other guys, right? So for now, the world is NVIDIA's. And at some point it will change, but it's not right now. That's all I'm here to tell you. It's not right now, okay? And people keep trying to think it's right now. It's not right now. It's not right now, okay? Now, let's talk about Palo Alto stock. And if this is an opportunity, because that stock crashed today, then we'll get into Palantir, where that stock's going from here, SoFi and Tesla, okay? So Palo Alto Networks, stock got absolutely obliterated. Shocking move for a $100 billion plus market cap. That's where that market cap was today, right, going into today. For that to fall 28%, I mean, what is this, a penny stock? What is this, Teladoc? I mean, this looks like T-Doc stock. Holy smokers, that's no flipping flapjack and jokas. Was this Rivian? Lucid? Oh, don't even get me started on those earnings. Oh my gosh. So, Palo Alto Networks, great company, cybersecurity space, phenomenal company, right? So their market cap dropped all the way down to $84 billion after that massive drop here today. Now, this is on Yahoo Finance. Trailing 12-month PE claims it's a 40. Yahoo Finance was phenomenal when I first got in the market back in 08, 09. Man, have they fallen off, because I don't even think that's an accurate number. I'll be honest from you guys. I can't even trust the Yahoo Finance numbers anymore. It's sad, okay? So here's the deal. Palo Alto Networks is expected next year to have their EPS go up substantially. And it's supposed to hit around $6 or so next year. So if we take $261 stock price divided out by, let's call it $6 EPS, that would mean it's trading at a forward PE of, let's call it 43.5 or somewhere around there roughly, right? So we can call it something in, let's just call it the mid 40 range, which is high compared to the market, which the market trades at under 20 usually, right? So definitely high, but this is a company that is basically needs-based, right? Cybersecurity is not going away, and if anything, the needs for that is just more and more and more over the coming decades, right? And so for Palo Alto, they're expected to grow their revenues double digits a year, every year. Like, let's call it mid double digits every year for years to go in the future. So I look at a stock like Palo Alto, and I think it's a decent opportunity. I don't think it's necessarily a great risk reward right now, but I think it's a decent risk reward. I think for the first time in a bit, the stock's actually somewhat compelling. Now, if we could have some market drama or that go down or something, then you could get a lot more compelling, but I don't even know, if it's going to go down that much more. I'll put it that way. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to run out to buy this one that have been waiting to buy this stock. And then on top of that, it could see upward momentum because of what's about to happen with the NASDAQ and NVIDIA and everything going on there. So, it's a decent op. I don't think it's the best buy out there, but I think it's a decent op after that huge crash, okay? Now speak about Palantir. So Palantir, this stock is going to go back to 25 plus in my personal opinion. And the reason being is obviously the NVIDIA numbers are out there, right? There was this belief, this fear in the market that this was going to be the day of the reckoning of AI. NVIDIA was going to report some horrible number, and it was like, oh, there's no more demand for AI. And it's silly. It's literally silly to think like, oh yeah, just all the demand went away. It's over. But that was literally the thought process of so many people out there. And that's why we're putting so much emphasis on today, thinking like this was it, man. And AI's done. And NVIDIA just comes out and puts those numbers out there. Jensen says demand's ridiculous for 2025 and beyond. And it's like, oh, this AI thing's not done. It's not over. It's actually just still getting started at this point in time, right? And remember, for the companies like the Palantirs, AWS, Snowflake, for all those companies, they haven't even really seen their numbers go super positive yet. That's going to play out this year. Last year was really much more of a hardware-related year with NVIDIA. This year, you're going to start seeing it play out in companies like even Microsoft's numbers, Palantir, Snowflake, Amazon with AWS, Meta, obviously, with their business, right? And so this is a game that is still just getting rolling here. And so I think Palantir is going back to 25, and I think there's going to be a lot more optimism coming into this market, especially in relation to the AI trade, as they call it, now at this point in time. Now, something fascinating is, there's so much talk about, are we in a bubble, are we not in a bubble, right? NVIDIA just said, heck no, we're not, obviously based upon those numbers. But in a bubble, you usually have everybody is just bullish, and those sorts of things. I was reacting to a bunch of different things on the Twitch live stream here today, right? And at the very end, I reacted to Fast Money. And they had Dan Nathan, they had, Guy Adami, Danny Moses from The Big Short. They had all those guys on Fast Money. And you would have thought, okay, these guys will maybe these guys usually lean super bearish. You would think they would take like a little step back and be like, you know what, NVIDIA's just got it right now, like that is. But no, Dan Nathan doubles down on, I tried shorting NVIDIA a couple times last year, and, I think it's about ready for a short again. And it's just like, dude, learn when to just fold the hand. Like, fold the flip and flapjack hand. I think these guys should come out to Vegas and play poker sometime, literally, because I think they would learn a lot. And yet these guys still come out and remain bearish and bearish. I listen to this guy talking here, it's 5 years too late in regards to NVIDIA, and it's just so much bearishness. And I'm just like, dude, we're not going to hit bubble or the top on this AI-related situation until all these guys flip over to the bullish side. And all of them, finally fold their hands and say, you know what, yeah, this is a real deal. This is a holy field. We're jumping in. But as long as these guys remain just bearish time and time again, regardless of the numbers, and more, it's like, I don't think we're at the top of this market. Because when we're at the top, we'll know, because it'll seem like everybody is on the train at that point in time. And we're just not even close to being there right now. It's way too many people skeptical and bearish. Way too many people skeptical and bearish right now, okay? And, it reminds me, because people think like there's a finite amount companies can grow or something like that. And I remember when I got hired at Quick Trip, right, in 2010. And I remember, it's kind of like orientation type thing. You're kind of getting training at the, I don't want to call it the corporate office, but the division office in Arizona and whatnot. And I remember, keep in mind, 2010, I started in the market 2008, 2009. So 2010, I was finally starting to make some money in the market. I was starting to get confident, like I knew a lot of stuff, right? Usually that's what happens when you kind of hit year two with something, a sport or anything. You're like, oh, you start feeling yourself, right? Like I know stuff. And I remember, one of the training managers was talking about he owned Apple stock. And I was like, oh man, I don't know. I think they might be kind of reaching as big as that company can get. They're doing so much in revenue. Back then, they were doing $65 billion in revenue in 2010, right? Well, this past year, they did nearly $400 billion of revenue. So be careful trying to call tops in these things unless you really, really know your stuff inside and out. Whenever I hear experts talk in the industry, they don't talk like we're at a top at all. Whenever I hear people that don't really understand these industries well, just throwing out opinions, those people are the ones that are bearish. And you got to say, who do you actually want to believe in? Who do you actually, trust to kind of make judgments? More of the experts on here? Would you trust more of a Jensen or other experts in this industry? Or would you trust the management teams of these other massive companies that are ordering all these chips? Or would you rather trust random guys who probably don't even understand the technology or how any of this works, right? And so sometimes you got to ask yourself that, because there's a lot of opinions out there, but what opinions would actually matter, right? I would say people that actually know their stuff inside and out in regards to these sorts of industries, right? Now let's talk about the SoFi mess, and we'll talk about Tesla, and I want to do a little moral of the story, drop a few gems at the end of this video for you guys, okay? So in regards to SoFi, we spoke about it yesterday. It was a lot of panic out there, and I saw this on X, and it was kind of spreading like wildfire in relation to if you use TurboTax, which is a super popular tax product, and you went through SoFi and you had fees taken out, basically there was something miscategorized, and so people's returns were then being sent back to the IRS. Then the IRS would have to send out a physical check. It took weeks to do this, right? So complete blunder, disaster, and potentially a huge bad branding thing for SoFi, and something that could make a lot of people, have bad things to say about SoFi. So from what I hear, it sounds like they have got it resolved now at this point in time. Obviously, I have no way of testing this, because I'm not going to file my taxes through TurboTax. I don't even file my own taxes. Like somebody does that for me, right? So I can't confirm this, but from what I heard through the grapevine, it sounds like this is resolved at this point in time, which is good news overall. And if you want a really in-depth video on that, I covered that extensively on the reaction channel last night, and kind of what was going on there and the whole dilemma and the details and whatnot, right? By the way, we just hit over 40,000 subscribers on the reaction channel. So I appreciate all you guys that follow me not only on this channel, but that reaction channel as well. That's phenomenal, okay? Now I want to speak about Tesla, and then I'll drop a gem at the end of this video. But, Tesla, it's fascinating because it was obviously Red Dead Redemption Day out there for big tech. Palo Alto Networks, and then everybody was scared about what's NVIDIA going to report. So it was Red Dead Redemption, just, all over the place. I mean, look at this. It was just pain, right? Meanwhile, what about Tesla? It was up. It was up, right? And what did I tell you guys recently, in the last few weeks? I said the bearishness is going to fade in regards to Tesla. I took my profits on my puts, and I ran out of those, right? And I took some sweet profits on those, some incredible profits, right? And the bearishness is fading now in relation to Tesla. It's fading off. It's slowly eroding in terms of what are you going to be bearish on this company. We know the margins are likely going to trough in this quarter we're in right now. They're going to report likely a really bad margin number, and then it's very likely that margins will then flatline and then start to go up in the back half of this year, which is hugely bullish. And so people are going to start front running that. They're going to front run that. Understand that margins are likely going to improve. Revenue growth is going to start accelerating again, likely in the back half of the year, right? And so, it doesn't make sense to continue to be bearish on Tesla now at this point in time. It was a very different story a year ago, 2 years ago, even 3 years ago. But now at this point in time, I just don't think the setup is very good, because now you're basically banking on a tanking of the economy. And you never want to bank on the tanking of the economy for a stock price move, right? That's a tough bet. And you could say you can make that bet against any company at any time, right? So that's just kind of my thought process in regards to that. So fascinating to see so much Red Dead Redemption out there, and then Tesla just bucking the trend and saying, I'm going green today. Yeah, bearishness is definitely fading substantially in regards to Tesla, okay? Now, moral of the story, especially in regards to this NVIDIA situation, right, is don't let them fool you. Because so many people get caught up into this game of like trying to think, oh, I don't want to buy a stock because, the numbers might not be that impressive and it's going to go down or whatever. At the end of the day, you can't make your decisions based upon what the analyst estimates are, and oh my gosh, if they miss this quarter, the stock's going down so much, so I'll wait till after the quarter to buy or something. Who knows how much NVIDIA's. The bears will be lucky if NVIDIA's only up 10% tomorrow. If NVIDIA's up 10% or less tomorrow, the bears are lucky. NVIDIA should be 800 plus tomorrow. 800 plus. So anything less than 800, I would count the bears as lucky tomorrow. Let that sink in for a moment, okay? Now, you could get fooled and fooled again and again by, trying to stay out of companies you love and that you believe in and that you think have great growth prospects because you're going to time it out. But at the end of the day, you're just going to end up being a jaded bear like a lot of these folks, right? If you see an opportunity, you got to pounce on that opportunity. If you liked NVIDIA going into these earnings, and you liked the stock for the next 5 years, you should have been buying today. You should have been waiting on your hands, sitting on your hands. You should have been buying last week and the week before and the week before and the month before. At the end of the day, if you want to be long-term, NVIDIA, be long-term. And that goes for every stock in the market. Too many times people get caught up in these other games that are played and they forget this is an investment, right? In an investment, what would Warren Buffett tell you? He'd say, who cares about all this crap? It's all entertaining, but at the end of the day, you got to make an investment decision. You got to be able to say, this company can likely produce me this much net income over the coming years. I'm buying it for this valuation. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot more sense than if I kept that money in cash or put that money in a treasury or put that money in a savings account. That's what it all comes down to at the end of the day. But everybody tries to get a little too fancy here, and, it's just not the game. It's not the game, man. Don't get caught up in all the distractions of all this crap. Make the best investment decisions for you and your portfolio. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do, man. The rest will be the rest. The rest is just a show. It's just a game of entertainment at the end of the day, okay? And so what I try to do in the private group is keep everybody just focused all the time. And we're just focused in there, man. We're adding our portfolios. We make our moves. And we don't get shaken by all this crap that everybody's talking about. Oh, you can't buy yet because you might fall here. It's like, dude, if you've done the due diligence, you've done the work on that, and you see the opportunity, take advantage of that opportunity and let everything else be confident when you go in there and make your decisions. And if the fundamentals change, then you got to reassess your situation, right? But the fundamentals haven't changed, then you got to continue to execute, man. And so that's my opinion on that, okay? Appreciate y'all joining me as always. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you for being subscribed to the channel. If you want to look into apply, join my private group with myself and the super investors, pin comment down there. Take your game up to the next level. Much love and have a great day.